There are countless references to shrimp in the Jeffrey Epstein files. So it's been my mission to find every suspicious reference within the files and to try and understand what shrimp is and why they have to censor it with a code word. We're going to find out what shrimp means. Now, one of the first references I found about shrimp, this one is very suspicious. This is an email on Tuesday, March 31st, 2015 at 16:38 p.m. There are 6 images attached, and of course, all of the image files are broken. And above the images, it says, meeting blank, tomorrow, shrimp. Shrimp is the central, most important part of our activity when we meet tomorrow. And here are 5 images, which I'm going to say nothing about. So I'm just speculating here that this would be pictures of human body parts or dead bodies, maybe dismembered bodies, unless it's more of a sexual reference. But we tend to hear shrimp referenced in relation to eating. So let's continue. All right, next shrimp message. Now this is weird. I just noticed this. From redacted to J.E. jail. So Jeffrey has a separate email address for when he's in jail. That's what I'm assuming, which is very interesting. Subject, very funny. And this is on Thursday, October 1st, 2009 at 18:33 p.m. Jeffrey says, I want you to learn how to cook eggs, scrambled, poached, over easy. ... Shrimp, broiled, baked, boiled in sauces for it. Fresh fruit drinks. I want you to learn how to set a table and present food. I want you to learn how to run a house. I want no arguments during the Monday to Friday week. Issues must wait for the weekend. No more bitching about redacted V. I have had enough for a lifetime. I want you to read one of the 100 great books every month. There is a readily available list. I want you to exercise 4 times per week, every week. I want you to type at 60 words a minute. I want beautiful things only in the house. You cannot put anything in without letting me see it first. A very strong suspicion that this is Karina, but it's redacted, so I don't know. I don't know who is replying to this, but this is one of the most telling pieces of evidence that we have that shrimp is human meat or baby meat. I'm kind of presuming that it's baby meat because it sounds like jerky, which I'll have to do another separate episode on because there are just so many files. But I think jerky is like adult human meat, maybe teenager meat, and shrimp is baby meat. So this is what she says in response to him saying, I want you to learn how to cook shrimp. What? Shrimp? Question mark? Is that a joke? You know, I feel sick just looking at it and smelling it in the room. It's very funny, but there is no way I could cook or even touch a dead shrimp. I have goosebumps just writing about touching it. This is very damning. If this person was allergic to shrimp and hated the smell, then they would just say, you know, I'm allergic to shrimp. I mean, this feels more like how someone would react to a dead body. Think about it. I feel sick just looking at it and smelling it in the room. And what's one of the most common things we hear from humans, from people, about dead body smell and being around corpses? You know, for most normal people, it's disgusting, right? So this one is dated Sunday, September 23rd, 2012 at 7:51 a.m. From redacted to Jeff Epstein, subject blank. So Jeff says, in all caps, "Did you hear from Victoria yet?" And this redacted person replies, "Call Talia. She will give you a massage, and she looks better than quote unquote shrimp anyway, and good with massages." She looks better than quote unquote shrimp anyway. The fact that this redacted has put shrimp in quotations is also damning evidence that shrimp is code for something else. She looks better than shrimp anyway. She looks better than babies anyway? Is this a joke? Is he like joking, you're into babies? I don't know, but I think the fact that shrimp is in quotations here and the way in which it's used, she looks better than shrimp anyway. Very suspicious. This is like a full-on thread about shrimps and other seafood used as code words. This thread is started by Jeffrey. He sends Olivier Colomb a link from the Huffington Post. And he just says he agrees with me. And he's talking about the Dalai Lama. And then Olivier replies, "I saw that you sent me an email with a file attached, but the IT guys of the bank blocked it for some security reason. I have a private email that can be used though. Besides Ariane? Is he talking about Ariane de Rothschild? Ariane is in the Bordeaux vineyards until Wednesday. It looks like she has no phone or something with her. Sorry about that. Hope you're well." So Jeffrey replies, "No problem. A friend that built the Beijing airport asked if I knew a bank that was interesting. I thought I'd run it by you if it were good for you. I'm not involved in any way, nor would I expect to be." "Thanks, very nice of you. Where are you now?" "On my island in the Caribbean with an aquarium full of girls. The king of Saudi Arabia has a few white sharks in his Jeddah palace. I totally prefer yours. Sure, I would enjoy the view." Jeff replies, "As to our Russian, I guess some might refer to them as white sharks." Olivier replies, "As long as you don't have any hammerhead ones, I like white sharks." And then Jeff replies, "No, some are like shrimp. You throw away the head and keep the body." Oh God. Olivier replies, "I like shrimp, but not so much if it's too pink, although I'm definitely more into white than into any other color. I like your philosophy." And then Jeff replies, "I can't even think of the smell of black shrimp. Ugh." So they're referring to shrimp as the color white, pink, and black. So they're talking about white babies and black babies? And I guess maybe white sharks. White sharks must be very young women, young white women. That's what would make sense. This one was very intriguing. It's a very intriguing invite to a party. It might mean something and it might mean nothing, but I find it very suspicious. And it's from a Steve Sussman. And the subject is Sussman Godfrey, New York open house. And this is from December 4th, 2015. And Steve says, "This is the third time we have tried to invite you to our open house on the evening of the 8th. We keep trying because we aren't sure the evites are getting through to you. If this one did and you can come, just reply yes so we can have a name tag and enough shrimp ready for you. If you can't come, a no will assure us that we got through to you and we won't try to be reaching you by phone. Happy holidays, Steve." Shrimp isn't that expensive to these people, and if you're gonna nag a high profile person about, can you really let us know so we know how much shrimp to buy? Like, it seems very petty and just kind of, I don't know, a cheap thing to ask about, to be like, can you please reply so we know how much shrimp to buy? Like, I don't think this is shrimp. And I'm speculating, I'm not accusing here. But I'm suspicious that this is human meat or baby meat. Just reply yes so we can have a name tag and enough shrimp ready for you. To me, this sounds like a very elite lawyer party. I'm speculating. Probably the most influential, high-paid, elite lawyers are going to this party. I wanted to look up the Cocktails and Cuisine by Daniel Boulud. Daniel Boulud. He is a French chef with restaurants in New York City, Palm Beach. New York City and Palm Beach. His restaurant Daniel, which opened in New York, holds 1 Michelin star. He was raised on a farm near Lyon, trained by several French chefs. His management company, so he's obviously a very rich and accomplished chef. Now this is extremely interesting here. Boulud worked in France with whoever these guys are, and later in Copenhagen before becoming the private chef to the European Commission in Washington, D.C. European Commission is the primary executive branch of the EU. He is the private chef of the executive branch of the EU, who is basically all the European elites who are involved in politics. So you have Ursula von der Leyen, and you would probably have Mark Rutte, even though he's now with NATO, but I'm sure he visits. I don't know, I'm speculating. I'm looking for a member list here. It's like impossible to find. But just von der Leyen is enough. A literal European elite, a part of the aristocracy. And I'm not making any accusations, but let's just say I've read many memoirs, many books by SRA survivors that talk about the European elites. And I'm not saying it's Ursula's family, but so I just want to pause here for a minute. And this will be a future episode where I go more in depth into the eating habits of the aristocracy and the elite. And obviously this isn't all elites and billionaires, but it is a faction of them, and this does happen. And so I just want to play a clip of Max Lowen, an SRA survivor.
Some of the rituals, it's called SRA, I don't want to say the actual words, involved taking me out to different parties. Some were in very beautiful mansions, so they would be kind of black tie balls, if you ever saw Eyes Wide Shut, that kind of thing, except what they didn't show in the movie is the children that were brought in as party favors. Sometimes they would be on grounds at these different beautiful mansions where there were woods, and they were hunting parties. So we would be dressed up in certain costumes or naked or something and sent to hide and then be hunted. There would always be a child or maybe more than one unalived at the end of this. And actually, these people I have seen cooked babies brought out on platters. They do eat human flesh. They do drink human blood. And sometimes the rituals would also be outdoors. So there would be like a gang violation ritual with a bonfire where I was drugged so that I was fully conscious but couldn't move my body at all, even my mouth. I couldn't even scream.
As well, just to add to this topic of elite cannibalism, I'm going to read you guys some excerpts from the book Cannibalism, Blood Drinking, and High Adept Satanism by Kurth Barker. Persons from around the world are lured to New York with the promise of work. These are poor persons but in good health. Once they arrive in New York, they are taken to a remote warehouse where they are fattened up and periodically checked by medical doctors. The victims are told by the doctors that they have some type of rare communicable disease. Therefore, they have to be kept isolated with others until they get better. Because they are given lots of good food, the victims tend to remain calm, believing that they are being well cared for. Furthermore, promises of welfare money are made. The victims are allowed simple amusements such as TV, books, and board games. Once a victim is chosen to be slaughtered, he or she is terminated by a doctor. This is done by slitting the victim's throat during a medical exam. Then the victim is taken to a kitchen where his or her corpse is appropriately butchered. A letter is sent to his or her family overseas. It claims that the victim has been killed in an accident of some kind. The letter informs the family that the victim's body has been disposed of according to his or her religious beliefs. Money is sent as generous compensation to the families, who, being poor, tend to accept this explanation without question. The aristocratic cannibal went on. During our vegetarian meal, to explain some other things about all this, he said that the business of providing human flesh for aristocratic cannibals had modernized over the years, but that it had maintained its basic business model. Only aristocratic and initiated Luciferians were offered this service. Potential customers would be shown a book of photographs of different victims who were available for consumption. The people in the photos would be nude, and the photos would have been taken during medical exams. There would be a description of the person along with his or her name. The victim's weight and size, as well as other physical characteristics, would be described, but also the victim's religion, nationality, cultural background, hobbies, and abilities would be described. There would be a description of the individual's personality. The idea was that you were supposed to pick somebody you liked. Your future food should be someone whom you found admirable. This business had various ways that the victim's flesh could be prepared for eating. These would be stews, sausages, and so forth. And this all sold for large amounts of money, but the customer was expected to buy a whole person. One couldn't just buy a few sausages. One had to buy all the meat that had been harvested and prepared from the victim of one's choice. Wealthy Luciferian aristocrats would throw exclusive parties where the guests would feast on the flesh of the chosen victim. The cannibals called themselves the Eaters, and they referred to their victims as the Eaten. A photo of the victim would be placed on the dining room table. Photos of the victim would be passed out among the guests as souvenirs. And when eaters ate him or her, they would refer to the eaten by name. For example, they might say, "Jose is quite delicious. Those Jose sausages are especially good." The aristocratic Luciferian cannibal explained to me that he and his cannibal friends felt that this type of cannibalism was a spiritual experience. They were intimately communing with the person who they ate. So it wasn't like the crude cannibalism of the two sisters or the arrogant baby-eating cannibalism of the European Satanists. This aristocratic cannibal with whom I spoke seemed quite sincere. I didn't feel threatened by him, and I believe that he felt that his form of cannibalism was, for him, a spiritual practice. After all, these cannibals were careful to not frighten their victims, and they did generously compensate their families. Some people would think I'm taking a huge leap of faith and I'm looking way too deeply into things, but it's like, I just don't believe that these elite lawyers who have infinite money in New York City are gonna hound Jeffrey Epstein about how much shrimp they need to have ready for him. And then to find out that the chef who is hosting this elite exclusive lawyer party is the private chef to the EU Executive Commission that Ursula von der Leyen heads. It's as you know, these files have just been dumped on us. They're a complete chaotic mess. There's many duplicates, and this is intentional. And just while we're on the topic of lawyers, I just want to share this quick tweet from a lawyer on the Epstein files. Lawyer here, the method with which the Epstein files are being released is deliberately designed to put you in a psychological trance. This is their strategy. Here's how I know this. In trial practice, when there are exhibits involving violence, children, or extreme harm, we do not simply dump information into the room. We go back and forth extensively about how and when something is shown. The judge guides the process. Experts contextualize it. It is a container equipped to hold this content. Courts understand that when the brain is flooded with horror, your system gets hijacked by the primal brain. You go into hypervigilance, rage, obsession, and collapse. We have a name for this: reptile theory. Reptile theory is a trial strategy built on this premise. If you can bypass the cognitive brain and activate the primitive survival brain, the oldest reptile part of the brain, you can control outcomes waiting on facts or law. This strategy is not allowed at trial. This is why trials involving extreme harm rely on structure. The law does not do this to protect perpetrators, but to protect the jury. What is happening now is the opposite. There is a massive document drop with no categorization, containment, or guidance. The onus is placed entirely on the reader to make sense of chaos. There are random redactions that force the brain into constant guesswork. You have to deduce, infer, fill in blanks, like we've been doing in this documentary here. This keeps the mind spinning, searching, looping. Number 1. You become consumed, you deep dive, you push to get more information, you stop sleeping, it takes over your life. Your focus narrows until there is nothing else. Gradually they frack all of your life force. They keep you locked in an endless energy loop in their sick mind games. You become one of their victims. Explains why I'm getting sick right now. Number 2, you disengage completely. You decide it's too much, it's too confusing, too overwhelming. You walk away. It implodes from your exhaustion. Either way, they win. When the nervous system is overwhelmed, it seeks relief. This looks like outrage, doom scrolling, obsessing, or wanting to throw your phone into the ocean. Time starts to collapse. Days blur together. You check your phone compulsively. You think, I just need to understand this piece. But there is no final piece. There is always another fragment, another horror dangling just out of frame. And you lose your agency. This email is from a redacted person. And it's from January 13th, 2011 at 2:02 p.m. It also, very interestingly, has 2 different attachments. One attachment is called twins.png, and the other attachment is called shrimp in cream sauce.jpg. Oh my God. So the original email is from an N space E space M. NEM wrote, "Are you feeling better? Let me know if there's something I can do." And then Jeff replies, "No bed. I'm lying on the floor so it can't move." Oh my God. On the second page of these emails, there is a huge black block redacting everything here. I have no idea what that could possibly be, but maybe he's referencing whatever that is, can't move. I'm lying on the floor so it can't move. Okay. And then NEM replies, "Oh, poor you. I know how much you hate those stomach aches. Compilation preview, creamy shrimp." So compilation preview, creamy shrimp. What? Twins shrimp in cream sauce. I don't even want to let my mind go to that place. It just seems so far out into left field to assume that these elites just have an obsession with shrimp. I don't know what to think. It's hard for my mind to believe that people are this deranged and this deeply sick. This one is from September 24th, 2012. Subject, Victoria. Redacted writes, Redacted asking if we need redacted, in brackets, the shrimp, otherwise redacted, doesn't want to help her with the agency. Jeff replies, no, you should invite redacted tomorrow at 4. So there's too many redacted to piece this together in a cohesive way. But here is more proof that shrimp is a code word for something else.
It's the people that are like really interested in reading all the emails.
I think the Luciferians cast a spell on the world. And,
for real?
Oh, absolutely. It's just like how vampires can't go into a house unless they're invited. They tell you, what's going on ahead of time. It's predictive programming. And once you say it out loud and you put it out there and make fun of it and do a little skit like Stephen Colbert did a little skit on his show where, oh, here's a baby. I'm going to take this baby and I'm going to give it to Moloch. And he goes into like a cloudy red, furnace and hands the baby over. And he's, oh, the baby's going to be fine. And they make a joke about it and the audience laughs. Okay, we're all now conditioned to it. We've all seen it. And by laughing at it, we're complicit.
You think that's on purpose, that this is like some sort of a grand design to get us to be desensitized to the idea of demons eating babies?
Yeah, for sure.
Really?
For sure. And by the way, nobody's doing anything about it. We know what's happening.
But that has to take, there has to be a person or some group of people.
Yeah, about 8,500 people. Yeah.
That are manipulating the Colbert Show?
They're manipulating everything. It's all an illusion. Reality as we know it is fake. That's the revelation that guy is having. And he's looking around and he's like, it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Well, the thing about the emails is, one of the things is it's just stuff written down. And so that's sort of hard to digest. What is this? What are they saying? Some of it is in code, walking over beef jerky. Talking about jerky, could you walk beef jerky over to this person? What does that mean?
For all this pizza they're talking about, no, you never see any pizza.
Right. Yeah. They're ordering pizza. I'm going to get some grape soda. It's with my cheese pizza.
Yeah. And there's all this coded language, and everyone's oh, that's you just have pareola. You're just seeing things where you want to see them.
No, that's clearly a code. Well, that was the thing about Pizzagate.
It's absolutely a code, and in fact, mundus vult decipi, ergo decipiatur. It's a long-known concept, and so in Latin, mundus vult decipi means the world wants to be deceived. Ergo decipiatur. Therefore, it is. And
so you think they're eating babies?
Oh yeah. I absolutely believe that.
You should get together with Kurt Metzger. You two would go crazy.
I don't doubt it for a second. Well, I think this dates back a long, long time. This is Moloch worship.
Oh. Well, there was the other email that said, thank you for the torture video. I enjoyed the torture video.
Yeah. And it's people just... They don't want to accept it. People don't want to believe it. They don't want to accept it.
So this particular file, subject, it's interesting. The to and from are completely redacted. And then the subject is alert, make shrimp. March 27th, 2016 at 11 a.m., make shrimp. Who sets an alert to make shrimp? We keep seeing the signal over and over again that shrimp is a special, we can say edible thing that he and his circle seem to be obsessed with. There's a pagan holiday called the Festival of Cybele and Attis from March 22nd to 27th. And it's a Roman cult festival. And what it includes is castration rites, blood sacrifice, death and rebirth symbolism. March 27th specifically equals the resurrection/renewal rites. This one directly overlaps your date. So it's really weird because this morning I was reading the short story Rats in the Walls by H.P. Lovecraft. And I was not expecting to find this, but he talks about this same cult. Piecing together the tales which Norris collected for me about this castle from his ancestors' past that he inherited, and supplementing them with the accounts of several savants who had studied the ruins, I deduced that Exham Priory, his family's castle, stood on the site of a prehistoric temple, a druidical or anti-druidical thing, which must have been contemporary with Stonehenge. That indescribable rites had been celebrated there, few doubted, and there were unpleasant tales of the transference of these rites into the Cybele worship which the Romans had introduced. Inscriptions still visible on the subcellular core. Such unmistakable letters as Div, Ops, Magna Mat, signs of the Magna Mater, whose dark worship was once vainly forbidden to the Roman citizens, probably because it would give them power. Anchester had been the camp of the 3rd Augustan Legion, as many remains attest, and it was said that the temple of Cybele was splendid and thronged with worshippers who performed nameless ceremonies at the bidding of a Phrygian priest. Tales added that the fall of the old religion did not end the orgies at the temple, but that the priest lived on in the new faith without real change. Likewise was it said that the rites did not vanish with the Roman power, and that certain among the Saxons added to what remained of the temple and gave it the essential outline it subsequently preserved, making it the center of a cult feared through half the heptarchy. About 1000 AD, the place is mentioned in a chronicle as being a substantial stone priory housing a strange and powerful monastic order, and surrounded by extensive gardens which needed no walls to exclude a frightened populace. A powerful monastic order? That has to be the Knights Templar. Absolutely. It's in the UK, and it's a powerful monastic order. That's Knights Templar. And that would make a lot of sense, because now the Knights Templar are the Freemasons, who apparently, allegedly, have infiltrated the highest levels of our society. So in saying that, I'm not necessarily suggesting that Epstein and his friends are all Freemasons. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think they were. And I don't want to say what I think they are without researching it more, but I do not think that they're normal Jewish people at all. But what we do know is from Epstein's alleged niece, Anya Wick. She said that her family, including Jeffrey Epstein, are members of the cult of Baal, the ancient, I believe ancient Phoenician deity that you sacrifice children to.
I think it was David Icke who woke me up to the ancient cults and the bloodlines that continue to these generations. And I think you're the first survivor, perhaps, who's actually detailed how that has continued over the ages. So if you could maybe expand on that a little bit, I think the viewers would find this fascinating.
What specifically would you like expanded on?
So what was the cult that you mentioned earlier, the ancient one?
The cult of Baal, B-A-L.
Yes.
B-A-L.
Yep.
I know very little about it. My family masqueraded themselves as Jewish publicly. But behind closed doors, you know, at Passover dinners, when I was drugged, would admit, we are Satanists. Now, what I can understand is the public has caught on to this, but they call them the Illuminati. And I find that interesting because Illuminati means illuminated. I perceive the Illuminati, in fact, to be individuals like yourself, other conspiracists like Alex Jones, even people like Kanye West, who have been trying to illuminate people to this. I do not believe it is a unified organization, but a loose collection of individuals who are illuminated to the cult of Baal, who has successfully mythologized themselves as the Illuminati and convinced people that they are shape-shifting reptilians, you know, myths that can be perpetuated by the psychedelic nature of the tool that they use to abuse victims, which is used to delegitimize people who catch on to what they have been doing. And to be truthful, it was a reason I was anxious to come on here. You know, when people talk about seeing men turn into lizards, it makes everything seem a little bit more delegitimate. Now, when someone has been given a powerful drug, their minds can experience something like that. They can witness something like that. And it's something that kept me very confused as a child. I'm in the material world, in this plane. I'm being assaulted by my father, my uncles, my cousins. But my mind is somewhere else. My mind is going on this fantasy ride. And when I awake, I'm very confused. I also believe there are people who have talked about these outlandish, metaphysical, impossible experiences intentionally to derail conversations about the cults and their power in media and politics.
So if you haven't already, you should really go and watch that interview with Anya. You can tell she's really putting herself out on a limb to get this information out to us. So more on this cult of Sabel, which is the predecessor to Baal worship, by the way. Festival of Sabel in Addis. It's a Roman cult festival that involves castration rites, blood sacrifice, death and rebirth symbolism. March 27th specifically is resurrection renewal rites. This one directly overlaps your date of March 27th in the email when you got the alert to take out the shrimp. And I believe we have another email in this episode, which is another shrimp alert that was on March 30th, which is also around this time. Next, I want to analyze the astrological positions of March 27th, 2016, the astrology, the lunar cycle, just to see what was going on, because we know that these occult societies, they like to do rituals on full moons, eclipses, and during certain astrological positions. So on March 27th, 2016, it was a full moon in Libra, and that's significant. In ritual traditions, this is the phase for unveiling, exposure, emotional purging, karmic resolution, sacrifice, rebirth, transition. Okay, well that fits our current discussion, our current hypothesis, doesn't it? So astrologically, the sun was in Aries, first day of Aries, actually, I believe that is. The moon was in Libra, I guess it was in its final degrees of Libra, so on the cusp of Libra and Scorpio, which is, Scorpio is a sign of death. Sun in Aries, aggression, initiation, sacrifice, blood symbolism, war energy, ritual death, Full moon in Libra in the last degrees of Libra, as it's supposed to shift into Scorpio. Justice, death, transformation, exposure of secrets. I wonder what was going on around March 27, 2016. This rabbit hole is getting too deep. I was not expecting this. Pluto in Capricorn, elite power structures, hidden authority, hierarchical ritual symbolism, institutional control. Uranus in Aries, shock events, ritual disruption, rebellion. Okay, so ChatGPT has evaluated this. March 25th to 28th, 2016 formed a classic ritual timing window. It's post-spring equinox, resurrection festival period, full moon release phase, Aries blood sacrifice symbolism, Pluto power structure backdrop. This is prime mytho-ritual calendar space, historically used for resurrection ceremonies, sacrificial rites, initiation rituals, blood purification festivals, fertility and renewal rites. Okay, so ChatGPT objectively is saying, yes, this is a prime window for a sacrifice. So I wonder what world events that they were trying to influence here. So who is Cybele? Cybele is not Greek originally. She is Phrygian, Anatolian, pre-Greek, pre-Roman. Her deepest origins trace back to Neolithic fertility and Earth Mother worship, 7 to 9000 BC. She is Great Mother, Isis, mountain goddess, fertility and destruction duality, mistress of wild beasts, gatekeeper of life and death. In other words, primordial Earth Mother. And then her consort Attis, so that her male consort, is a death and resurrection god, which reminds me of Shiva outside of CERN. Cybele's lover's son, oh god, lover's son. Okay, so we know what they're into. Attis, he dies, is mutilated, bleeds, and is resurrected. This forms the core resurrection myth celebrated March 22nd to 27th. Key ritual, Taurobolium, bowl sacrifice, blood baptism, initiates bathed in blood falling through floor grates. This is one of the most intense blood rituals of the Roman world. Bull sacrifice, we have it right here. Is Cybele connected to Baal worship? Short answer, yes. Through a shared ancient Near Eastern fertility sacrifice continuum. Not directly Baal, but Cybele, Astarte, Ishtar, Inanna, Asherah, Baalat, Baal traditions. They are a different cultural mass of the same primal fertility blood renewal archetype. Shared elements, fertility rites, sacred prostitution, blood sacrifice, seasonal resurrection gods, death rebirth cycles, ecstatic ritual states. Baal is the masculine storm fertility god. Cybele, feminine earth blood fertility goddess. They represent polarity halves of the same cultic system. Okay, and it says Lovecraft got this exactly right. When Lovecraft invokes Magna Mater, he's pointing to pre-civilization religious memory. Older than Semitic religion, older than Olympian gods, older than history. That's why Cybele feels unnerving. She predates moral religion. Cybele is a surviving Anatolian form of the same Neolithic blood fertility cult system that later produced Phoenician Baal worship, but she preserves a far older, rawer, and more violent ritual layer than the Baal traditions that emerged thousands of years later. Okay, so this is an email chain. It's from February 5th, 2016 at 2:48 a.m. Okay, so from Leslie, can't even say my own last name right. It's from Leslie Groff. Hi, Zibby. Yes, of course, the invitation still stands. Would love to have some of the Perkins here. Totally understand on the girls. And yes, I'll take you up on Super Bowl appetizer. Let me know what you will send along, though, when you can. I don't wind up with all shrimp again. Thank you. Let me know what you will send along, though, when you can, so I don't wind up with all shrimp again. Okay, so she doesn't want to be stuck with all the shrimp. Now, why not? Is she allergic to shrimp? Shrimp is fucking delicious. And I mean, seafood shrimp is delicious. Now, here's another thing that just came to me, is that typically it's not kosher to eat shellfish. It's very peculiar to me to find such an obsession with shrimp within a group of elite Jewish businessmen, and I find that very suspicious, especially when they seem to value their religious identity, or what is presumed to be their religious identity. And then Zibby says, great, veggie platter with hummus it is, no shrimp, wink. Now, this could just be a sort of dumb exchange between two people just being nice with each other, but like, I find the no shrimp ... wink, I find that really weird. I just find it really weird, as if shrimp is like a secret. It's like, don't worry, no shrimp, wink. You won't be stuck with all the dead babies at your house again, don't worry. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm looking too deep into this one. I'm not making any accusations here about Leslie and Zibby, but like, I found this one weird. So this email is from May 21st, 2013 at 6:06 p.m. The subject is steak on Thursday for lunch. They really sucked at these redactions. Hi, Lynn. Redacted has coordinated steak lunch through Steve Hansen's office. The steaks will be delivered rare, so you will need to heat them to the proper temperature. Blank says it will be served family style like you normally do. Steve will also have some other things brought over. Redacted believes shrimp cocktail will be one of the items. ... Lynn, please confirm back to me. Thanks. So weird, eh? We're delivering the steak rare. I mean, why would you fucking say that? I mean, if you're gonna cook steaks at someone's house, normally you'd bring them over and you would just presume the steaks will be rare. So you will need to heat them to the proper temperature. Okay, that's just a weird thing to say. And Redacted says it will be served family style, like you normally do. What? And then Rosalind says, okay. Yeah, and then they just say thanks. Next email. This email is from August 16th, 2012. Jeff Epstein says, Ian Osborne arriving UA from Houston tomorrow at 10:10 a.m. in Albuquerque needs to be picked up. And then BMG says, FYI, I'll pick up Ian. Can you inquire about if any of our guests have food issues, please? I believe Ian does not eat shrimp. So taken way out of context of all the shrimp emails that we have analyzed so far. So you wouldn't even pick up on that statement. Can you inquire if any of our guests have food issues, please? I believe Ian does not eat shrimp. So this person, BMG, has specific information on the food that Ian Osborne eats. I believe he does not eat shrimp. I just find this weird. Because wouldn't BMG already know what Ian's food issues are if she had asked him previously? Why does it stand out to BMG that Ian does not eat shrimp? Why is shrimp so important to mention? I mean, normally it would be usually a shellfish allergy, but like, how would you know that very specific thing about Ian? Like, I don't know about you, unless someone comes over to my place often for dinner, I rarely ever remember someone's allergies. And so, say you're at an elite party and you're eating human meat and babies, and you notice that one person in the party doesn't really want to do it. They just can't. They're gonna puke. They're just one of those people that they just can't. You would probably remember it. If you're running in these circles, it's probably something that would be important to know. Something that would be memorable. Like, oh, Ian, he's not fully in our inner circle, our inner baby eating circle yet. He just will never be that guy because he does not eat shrimp. I'm speculating, and I'm not accusing Ian Osborne of these things, but I'm just speculating on these emails. And then, I don't know who replies, but they say, will do. I show Ian has no food allergies, but perhaps he doesn't like it. Okay, so why is it so prominent to these people that Ian does not like shrimp? And why is it so important for them to know that he does not like eating shrimp? The devil is in the details. It's in these stupid, mundane emails between people that just don't make sense. Why is it memorable that Ian does not eat shrimp? So anyway, let's move on. This one is a little more subtle. So this is around Christmas time. It's from December 24th, 2016 at 5:17 p.m. And redacted says, what a great day. A new Xbox, Noki for dinner, families and friends to share the holiday. Wish we could all be with you. Merry Christmas to all. Love from Florida. And they say, great day indeed. Totally wish you could all be here. You are here in spirit, in brackets. ... redacted. I made shrimp and cocktail sauce thanks to you showing me how. Wink. Okay, what? What is the obsession with shrimp and shrimp cocktail? You are here in spirit. Okay, so is it like a shrimp involved in a ritual that they do? This also reminds me of the Marina Abramovic spirit cooking, where I haven't heavily researched it yet, but oh man, it's way worse than what I was even going to say. Marina Abramovic's spirit cooking is a conceptual performance art project she created in the mid-1990s, centered around symbolic, ritual-style recipes written in blood, intended as poetic metaphors, not literal instructions. Here's the clear, non-hysterical explanation. What it actually is. Spirit cooking began as a series of written instructions painted on walls using pig's blood, styled like ritualistic recipes. They include surreal lines like, mix fresh breast milk with cut deeply into the middle finger of your left hand, eat the paint. These are symbolic, not literal. They're meant to function as performance poetry, shock-based art, ritualist symbolism, psychological confrontation. Abramovic is known for using physical extremity, taboo imagery, and discomfort to push viewers into confronting boundaries, fear, mortality, body pain, and identity. In 2016, WikiLeaks emails showed Abramovic inviting political figures to a spirit cooking dinner. This triggered massive speculation. Yeah, dude. But the dinner was a normal elite art world dinner, using the phrase as branding tied to her artwork. No rituals, no blood, no ceremonies. It was symbolic naming, not literal reenactment. What the project actually means. The recipes are metaphors for transformation through pain, ego dissolution, psychological rebirth, the limits of the body, the ritual nature of art. Anyway, I'll do a whole episode on that in the future, 100%. Okay, so this is just another mundane email from March 30th, oh my God, it's around the same time. It's around the March 30th, March 27th kind of sphere again. He put up another alert for himself. 4:30 p.m. Put platter in freezer for shrimp. March 30th, 2017. But what's with the alerts over shrimp again? Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I'm not gonna put alerts in my fucking phone to take hamburger out of my freezer. Oh my god, I think I get it. So the baby meat or human meat is served on a platter of ice to keep it cold. If you were to just take a piece of raw meat or like a raw human corpse and put it on a plate and it had no ice under it, you know, it could go bad fast. That's one thing. But a second thing is it could start to smell. So you need the ice. Like in that last email, it talked about serving the shrimp at the proper temperature. Okay? So you serve it on ice, on a platter, and probably around it, there's probably like little plates or whatever the fuck around the baby meat. You don't want to put like a human or a baby on just like a plate. So I recorded that, I think 2 days ago. And since then, I've seen a video, multiple videos about the elites and these sort of high up celebrities and whatnot eating babies, actually, at parties. And I want to play you a small excerpt from an Ellen whistleblower, which I just watched this evening. And that kind of just confirms my theory of what I just said.
Jeffrey Epstein and his Hollywood elite circle have been exposed as cannibals. Not rumours, not whispers. Hard evidence from the files. Babies in fridges. Jerky as code. Rituals that will make your blood run cold. An entire grotesque subculture of trafficking, consumption, and depravity on an industrial scale that has been blown wide open. And at the rotten heart of it for years, according to Epstein-files investigators, Ellen DeGeneres. These attitudes run rampant in Hollywood, according to multiple insiders, who've come forward with horrifying revelations. They claim that babies are kept whole in refrigerators, stored cold and intact, just like an ordinary suburban family might keep whole chickens ready for the table.
When I knew Ellen, she was already a household name. She had a full staff, including a personal chef trained in Paris, the kind who turned lentils into sculpture. But when it came to certain meals, she didn't let him touch a thing. There was a separate kitchen on her property, stainless steel, private entrance, no security cameras inside. The chef handled the sauces, the garnishes, the staging, but she insisted on doing the hard part herself. Said it grounded her, said it made the energy right. She wore a chef's hat like it was a crown. She believed consumption was transformation, that youth could be taken in, that vitality could be absorbed. She talked about ancient rites, about elites throughout history who understood what the masses didn't. It wasn't framed as cruelty, it was framed as tradition. The dumplings were her signature, folded carefully, almost lovingly, served at private dinners first. Studio heads, rising stars, political donors. She would watch as they ate, not hungrily, not nervously, but with that sociopathic calm, studying their faces. They complimented the seasoning, the texture. She would smile. And she wasn't an anomaly. That was the part that still keeps me up. There were whispers, other estates, other gatherings, special occasions, contracts signed over candlelight, refrigeration units in basements stocked with whole babies marinating in special sauces, jokes about saving something rare for a premiere or an award win. You heard enough and you stopped reacting. It wasn't about appetite. It was about power, and crossing a boundary so absolute that everyone at the table became complicit. Once you shared that secret, whatever you believed you'd consumed, you were bound to the group. No one betrays a circle that can destroy them. She even brought the dumplings to a few tapings of her show. Homemade, she said with that psychopathic grin. Audience members lined up for samples. Crew grabbed them between segments. I remember holding one, feeling the warmth in my palm, and realizing the real performance wasn't happening on camera. It was happening in plain sight. She didn't have friends, not real ones, just people she elevated, humiliated, tested. Feeding them was part of the game. a private torment disguised as generosity. This was all in the past. Houses get sold. Staff get rotated out. Ellen was destroyed because everyone hated her. But the industry doesn't cleanse itself. It just rebrands.
So there's ones with G-Max in here, the OG. This one is from 2002. Okay, so G-Max to Philip Levine says, read the piece. Yes, it's interesting. Lucky you did not invest. So, okay, we'll say Philip says, I had to give you the famous post-house talk to get you on track. And then G-Max says, please. And then Philip says, you know it's true. Invite Jessica to dinner and tell her to leave the nephew shrimp at home Wednesday. ... Nephew shrimp. Hey, I feel bad. I could not come up just for a dinner. The only reason to come is if we will get a chance to talk either before the dinner or after, or the next morning over breakfast. Let me know, G-Max. Invite Jessica to dinner and tell her to leave the nephew shrimp at home. Is it a little boy baby? Is that what a shrimp is? Or I'm assuming it's just like all babies. Here we have direct evidence that shrimp refers to a human through Jessica's relation to it, because Philip refers to the shrimp as her nephew. So it probably is what we have been presuming that it is and that it means. So this one is between Jeff Epstein and Kathy Rumler. Okay, and this is from November 5th, 2014 at 10:29 p.m. Jeff says, your former boss had a press conference. Looked like a fighter that was about to drop. Bad jokes, no sympathy in the press at all. And then she says, what a R-O something T. And then Jeff says, wow. It must have been an insult, I'm presuming. And then she says, I like Hong Kong. And then Jeff says, Chinese New York, eat some dancing shrimp, ? Kathy says, exactly. That's why I like it. I'm at the Four Seasons, so have been eating like an NYC off to Tokyo today. Okay, Chinese New York, eat some dancing shrimp. So this is another example of shrimp being personified as human, because shrimp can't dance. And it's not a normal phrase we would ever use to define the actions of a shrimp, so we have to assume that shrimp refers to a type of human. So this one, this one is from February 18th, 2010 at 5:45 a.m. Jeff Epstein wrote, what can I do so that you have at least a nice 25th birthday? Would you like a surprise party? Would you like a massage? I can cook food for you. You choose. I will make you a birthday dinner. No shrimp. And then Redacted replies, I know, and I am very excited to see what you have been planning for my 25th birthday. And then Jeff says, I organized a debarker. I'm not sure what that is. Let's look that up. A debarker is a machine used to remove bark from logs before the wood is processed into lumber, pulp, or other products. Strips bark off tree trunks. I'm assuming it's she, and then she says, perfect, smiley face. And then he says, for you, not the pups. And then J.E. says, I know. So I thought that this one was significant because, again, we have shrimp singled out. And like being allergic to shrimp, I don't think a lot of people actually are. Like, I don't think it's something that people are going to keep mentioning, you know, that, oh, don't worry, there'll be no shrimp there. I've never really been invited to parties or dinner parties where like, okay, yeah, I'm going to make you dinner and don't worry, no shrimp. So he basically went out of his way to say, I will make you a birthday dinner. End stop. No shrimp. End stop. They keep putting an emphasis on no shrimp Or, yes, shrimp will be there. Wink. Okay, so that's basically all the files that I could find where shrimp was used in a sort of anomalous way, and where shrimp is highlighted in very unusual ways. I think that we can see through these various exchanges that shrimp does mean something that is human, that can be eaten, that is enticing, or revolting to some people. So if you have any thoughts about what shrimp might mean, please put in the comments. If you find any other files that are super conspicuous, please post them as well. And thank you for listening.